Make sure y'all get them likes up, family. Get them likes up. Appreciate all the support. Get the likes up. Show's about to start shortly. Get them likes up, family. If you haven't already, get your tickets for Houston. Limited amount of seats left. Get your tickets. Get your tickets. Y'all share the video, like it, subscribe. Let's go. Showtime, y'all. Ameera. I see you smiling. It's showtime. Everybody give it up for Ameera.
Thank you so much, JR. DJ JR, thank you so much. Guys, pay DJ JR with a like and a comment. That'll be nice. That's all he wants in life, isn't it, JR? So,
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, guys, this is going to be a bit of a... This topic has me shaking. I'm actually shaking. My hands are physically shaking. So, do you guys know, I'm typically very much even keel, like no changing, but this has me rattled because this is a subject that I've wanted to speak to y'all about for a very long time, but I never had the courage to do so. But now I do. So I want to say welcome in, everyone. Welcome, Larry. Thank you so much for the green gang. Thank you, Malevolent Elephant. Thank you so much. Hey, Heidi. Hi, Larry. Hello, Mr. Steele. How are you doing this evening? Hello, Grizzly Man, Red Log, Sierra, and also Celine. Thank you. And we will have no self-crucifixions in this place. He says, if I hear one more... And he says he's going to crucify himself. Let's not do that. That's not what we do here on this side of YouTube. We don't do things like that. Hey, Maximus. Hi, Aticia. Okay, guys. So you guys welcome. Ready? Let's begin. Let me pull up a banner for you so you guys can read along with me. I am shaking so bad I can't even get the... I'm still shaking. Okay, here we go. The topic says... I'm a proud second wife. Proud. And you may ask, like, what do you mean second wife? I'm not a second wife as in I'm in a polyamorous marriage or anything like that. That's not the case. What I'm speaking about is my marriage with my husband and my husband having been a divorced man. And a lot of people ask, like, what about this and what about that? And I want to explain everything today so there's no confusion. So, I'm shaking. So the reason, there's many reasons why I chose my husband, that I said yes to my husband and no other. And, some of the reasons I have shared with you all, and some of them are very private, and I just like to keep those to myself. But my husband, understand, I was, when I was available for marriage, my husband wasn't the only one who wanted to marry me. You can imagine. So for me to choose my husband out of everyone else who wanted to court me, there had to have been a reason why, right? So, yes, I had the option to marry another virgin, marry another person who had never been married before, and do the whole, like, everybody's new and everybody's dead, but I wanted different. I wanted a man who had experience, who knew how to guide me, how to lead me in this way. I wanted that. That was my decision. There's many reasons for this because, as a woman, most people will not be honest about this kind of stuff. Most people will I just want to be honest about it. Like, I saw something in my husband that I knew was wisdom. He's already been through this. My husband was married before. He knows how it is to have a wife. He knows what to do. He knows already how boring the routine can be. He won't be surprised. He can lead me into this and I can follow him because I know he knows where he's going. Does that make sense? That's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. And I had an argument with my father about this because even my father said, well, why don't you consider this or something like that? Just make sure you're considering, because my father loved my husband. He was actually enamored with my husband. So for me to make that decision, my father was thinking, wow, well, this man must be something for her because she would never make this decision otherwise. I'm going to say something, and you all can crucify me in a chat if you want to, or you can call in and crucify me if you want. There's something about a second wife, right? There's something about a man who has already been married. He gets married a second time. What is the second wife typically? I want to ask you, what is the second wife typically like? So typically, in the case of a second wife, after a man has been married, he remarries. Typically, a man, when he marries a second wife, the second wife will be younger than the first. The majority of the time, I know people say, oh, there's some people who marry older. Majority of the time, second wife will be younger. She will not have a lot of, how can I say? The majority of the time, the second wife tends to be better than the first for that man, because this man has already learned what he wants, what he needs. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense to you. Somebody said better than the first, but I'm trying to explain it in a way that makes sense, that it doesn't sound bad, because there's nothing wrong with being a first wife at all. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, when you're doing the first wife, first husband thing, everything is new, everything you guys experience together. You guys, the man is doing this for the first time himself. He's doing this for the first time. He's just trying to get through it. And the woman is following. Yes. My husband, however, already knew what was coming. He already knew. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't bored by the routine, because in every married couple, you're going to get into a routine. And it's not going to be as fun as you want it to be, of course. It's never going to be as fun as the beginning. So he already knew what was coming. He knew how to be. He had experience. He knew. So this was part of the reason why I wanted that. I did want him. And I knew already, okay, he had been married before. I knew. But that's what I wanted. The other part about this is, somebody, Alicia, thank you so much. You guys see I'm shaking just to describe this. I'm shaking so bad. I can't even speak. My father approved. On the banner, it says, did your father approve? Yes. But my father also admonished me about what problems I could face with this decision that I wanted to make. My father told me, you being a second wife, being, not his first wife, not in a polyamorous relationship, guys, but you being his second marriage, this can be harder for you because people may say, okay, well, the second wife isn't to be taken as seriously, or blah, 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 blah. Me, I didn't care about that at all. All I knew is that I had a man who had already been through this, and he wanted to do it right the second time. And then there was me. So that's all that I saw in my place. The other thing I want to talk about is the stigma of the divorced woman and the divorced man. Between a divorced woman versus a divorced man, it is different. So as a woman, if a woman tries to remarry as a divorcee, I had told you guys before that she will most likely not get a man of high value because she is a divorcee. It happens, but most likely this will not be the case, because the stigma doesn't go the same when it comes to previously married men versus a previously married woman. Does that make sense? A man who is divorced can marry any woman he wants, any woman, whether it be virgin or another divorcee or whatever have you, as long as the family approves. In the other case, if there's a woman who's a divorcee, and if she has children, she will not, you may have a 2% chance, she will not take a virgin son who has never been married from a family. She will not, because the family will not approve of that. It's not the same. It's not the same for both genders. As you guys know, we do believe in double standards. This is a thing in our culture. Double standards is what makes the culture. So this is the difference. And unfortunately, I want to share something. I want to share something with you as well. Ramadan is coming up. Any of you Muslims in the chat, Ramadan is coming. Ramadan is when we don't eat for a month until the sun goes down. Eat, drink, or do whatever have you. Ramadan is coming, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he married a woman, his first wife, Khadija. She was a businesswoman. She was a divorcee. She was older than him. That was his first wife, a businesswoman. So when people are always talking about like this marriage and it happens. You can get married as a divorcee. It can happen. But in this culture today, the majority of time, you will not get a virgin husband. So the next point I wanted to bring up to you all is, hold on. Do I regret it? Do I regret being married to a man who was already previously married? Not at all. I would never have it any other way. Because, like I said, something comes with a man that has already been through the fire. He already knows what it is. My husband came with patience. My husband came with understanding from actually knowing already what was going to happen, what was going to happen when the routine comes, what's going to happen with the families. He'd already been through it. He guided me through this. He made me more mature because he guided me. He took me. I want to say it wasn't just both of us getting thrown into the fire when it comes to this marriage. It was him basically holding his hand out to me and saying, come. And that I can never replace that with anything because that's what I wanted. I wanted a man. I wanted guidance, a man who already knew. I didn't want to just anyway, you guys might say that's like selfish. You might say it's a selfish reason, but this is how it happened, and this is the main reasons why I wanted to marry a man who had already been married. I had the option to marry another virgin. I did, and I declined. I didn't want it. So you can imagine there's also other reasons why a woman would want to marry a person who's a man that has already had experience. He knows what he's doing. So, but if you guys are asking about Islamically, both people are supposed to be married virgin. Both of us are supposed to be virgin, if possible. So that is like the proper way to do it if you want to say it like that. But I chose a married man, or previously married man, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Steele. He says a divorcee. I think he said divorcee. Whoever caused a divorce has been in a marriage. He or she knows how it works, so he or she understands what he or she looks for in a spouse. I agree. Because, like I said, my husband, when you have a man who's already been through this, his second choice is going to be better fit for him than the first. Because no man would leave a marriage, get out of a marriage, and then marry someone that's worse than his first wife. It just wouldn't. Any logical man, I don't think would do that. You get the option that you actually wanted. So, yeah. Let me see. I'm reading your comments. Cal says running into a virgin woman is rare. We shouldn't be running into her. You should be just joking. All right then, guys. So let me see. Oh, Mimi. We have someone who's excited to shut me up, huh? Please feel free to call in. The link is there. You can call in and correct me about whatever it is you want to correct me about. I'm here with open ears. All right then. So that was my point to you guys. This is what I wanted to explain to you all. And yes, this topic is very close to me, very personal, and I didn't see the problem with it. I wanted to express this to you all before, but I couldn't. I just couldn't find the words to say because it all just seems so not normal, not typical. It doesn't seem typical that a woman would want that, right? Not many women would want that. But I'm telling you, if you have the option, it is a good option. It, in my opinion, is it's a great option. So, if you don't like it, that's fine. But I'm giving you the reasons why it was a good decision. I want to welcome in Mr. Kulik. Hello, Mr. Kulik.
Much respect to you there. Happy weekend to all. Happy just happy day to y'all. It's been an interesting day for myself here and others. But I'll say this is a great topic here. You're actually putting a lot of truth in what I thought about what women wanted in a man.
Mm,
And as a teenager and growing up and dating and stuff like that, I've noticed women, whether they be virgins or highly experienced, they always want a man that is knowledgeable in
mm,
many different areas. They don't want I'm not saying all, but I would say a majority of women want a man that is kind of seasoned. And
right.
you're reassuring that. And I've heard this from a lot of women out here that's what they want, need. There's a lot of guys that are my age and younger that are still virgins, and they're getting overlooked. They have good jobs, they have good money, and this, that, and the third. But I've noticed women like men that are experienced in relationships. They
And
do.
I just want to be honest. Like, I know a lot of women would not actually admit this. Many women don't like to admit this, that there's something about that is attractive, that the man knows what he's doing. He already has been through this. There's something attractive about it. And it attracted me to my husband. I was like, yes, this is awesome. And another thing, now this is a little bit more personal, but another thing is that a man who has already he already knows a woman, he already knows how to talk sweet, he knows the things to say to calm a woman down, to relax her mind, and all of this. There's a different power in that. And when we were courting, the way he spoke to me with such confidence, because like I said, he already knew, he already knows. He spoke to me in such a way that I don't even know. It was, I don't even know the words for it. But women, I think you guys can understand, right? It's like a dominance, a power in his words, and it's almost like soothing. You already know that you're in good hands, and that's what I felt. So,
Yeah, because a lot of women swoon over men. Like, I mean, you see with celebrities, you see it in everyday simple life. I mean, they swoon over these guys that have been with a lot of women and in relationships, and men that have a lot of female attention. I've noticed guys, and I'm saying this, I'm saying this again, guys that have great careers, have great salaries, they're getting
mm,
overlooked by women. Just
mm,
because they're not getting attention from um, the female perspective or whatever it may be.
mm,
And what's crazy? I've always believed in monogamous relationships. I always wanted to. This is what I wanted when I was younger. I wanted to be with one female. I wanted to be the virgin, she be the virgin, and all that. But I couldn't go along with that narrative because a lot of girls, in this millennial generation, they were not living that lifestyle. So I didn't want to, be married and go be in a church, if you will. And I see the woman walking down the aisle and she's been with 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 1,000 being guys. And I've, never had any experiences. I don't want to disrespect myself like that, but I still
mm,
believe in that. But it's a lot of women, they like guys that are out here that are they got the power. I mean,
mm.
women crave power. It's not the money, they crave the power. I
True.
want them to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like I said, the way my husband speaks, I really hope that one day, inshallah, one day, you guys will hear my husband speak. When you guys hear him speak, you will understand why. Because there's many reasons why. Because he speaks with such dominance and power, like I can't even describe it. Someone said the money was speaking. Sir, yes, my husband is a millionaire, but I don't come from a poor family myself. I didn't need his money. I married on my level, my own level. So, anyway, hi Wesley, come on in.
Well, hello there.
Good. How are you?
Love the hijab.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So, interesting conversation tonight. So, are you guys getting any static or is that just me?
No,
I
I
hear.
don't hear anything.
I hear.
Is it from me?
I think so.
I'm gonna mute myself then while you speak. Go ahead.
Okay, so since we're on the subject, I'm not shy talking about my life. It just normally doesn't come up that much, but I was actually raised in a very conservative Christian background, and I was 24 when my first time was with my wife at the time. So I had waited until marriage, and biggest thing I learned from that is that it was all bullshit.
Oh, so wait, were you when you married, what was the situation? Was she
Well, I actually
religious?
I met her in church, and that's why I no longer believe in God.
Wesley, I
only-
am going to
that's
kick you off
half
the
true.
panel. I
Look.
am kicking you Allah, but I am going to hurt you, Wesley. Are you kidding me?
I actually did meet her. So I actually did meet her in church. I actually did grow up in a conservative Christian background, and I actually did lose my virginity to my wife, my first wife, and I've only ever had one. But things I learned from that was that playbook isn't being taught correctly. The concept of two people waiting exclusively until marriage, because they don't actually. You have young religious people getting married specifically because they want to go do the deed and they just don't want to be cursed by God. And they're not even thinking about compatibility. If I stood back from a compatibility point of view, and actually, if I had in my life a system that taught me to value myself, I never would have been with her, because I had known at the time that there was a lot of things wrong with me and her getting together.
But is that because she was a Christian?
Because she
You
was a
said you lost
Christian.
your faith for her, so it has to be
That's
something
not what I mean.
religious.
I was blaming my loss of faith because of her, because I met her in church.
Wait, are you trolling? Are you joking? Or are you serious?
I might have to explain this series of jokes to you later. See, Westside Kool-Aid gets it.
No, he doesn't. You
Yes, he
always do
does.
this to me. No, Wesley, you always do this to me, and I do not appreciate it, because I am intelligent, somewhat. I am intelligent enough to understand English, but every time I don't understand what you're saying, you and your dad jokes, which are very corny, by the way, every time I don't understand what you say it's because I don't speak English as a first language.
No, I'm not blaming it on you. I'm just no. Let's not get into that. Okay. So me saying that I stopped believing God is kind of a half joke, and blaming it on her. I mean, I'm blaming it on incorrect values taught through conservative Christianity. Okay, where they're not teaching you to figure out how to value yourself and accept yourself as you are, and to get to know each other, and try to find your compatibility. A lot of that is lost. A lot of these young people growing up in very conservative religious households, what happens is, they graduate high school, they go into college, and they are just really lost because they've had no meaningful education on the subject.
So are you so what does this have to do with the topic of tonight? Do you think that it was an ignorant decision for a person like me to choose my husband because I was sheltered?
No, you seem to actually know what you were doing. Him as
Yeah,
well.
very much.
So it's you were given correct principles to deal with. Not everybody is.
Okay. So the question to the pair of you, to the both of you, what do you all think about second marriages? Do you see a difference between a divorcee, a woman who has been divorced and is moving on to a new relationship or a new marriage, versus a man who does the same? Do you think that they should be seen as equal, or do you think that there should be a stigma to the different gender?
Well, how many times have they been divorced?
But let's
Just
just say
one?
once. Let's just say once, just to make the example even.
I think it should be a difference, because I'm saying this, not Ameera, not Wes. Women that are married, they get divorced, their value lessens. It's like a car. They're like a used car or pre-owned car. How many miles does it have on it? So they're lesser in value is what I'm saying. That's just my opinion on it. And a woman that gets divorced, something, I'm just gonna say it, like it's something that she did. I mean, yeah, the man could have cheated, blah, 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 irreconcilable differences, all this kind of stuff, but it's something a woman did. 9 times out of 10, it's something a woman did. Okay. And the man doesn't know how to convey it, doesn't know how to articulate, okay, hey, baby, or hey, wife, I need you to do this or change this. And he just gives up, or he does something else. But 9 times out of 10, it's something a woman does. So if a woman gets married and she gets divorced, she is lesser in value than the men. So a man that gets divorced, to me, he really stays the same. Personally, it's just how I feel. And when I look at this market, this dating market right now, it adds up to be so.
Really quickly, before Wesley goes, I want to say, in our culture, when the pair gets divorced, the children go to the father. The majority of the time, children go to the father because that's how it is in our culture. So if a man gets divorced and he is still being the father, he is still being a provider, he needs a wife because he needs help with the kids, of course. He needs a wife. That's where you have that where men go around to different, oh my God, this sounds so weird. Not like Jehovah's Witnesses or something like that, but like they go and ask, is there a woman of marrying age? Because I need a wife. That kind of thing. Those kind of situations.
They do that they do that in the neighborhood or something? Like,
no, it was just an example. It's just like kind of not like Jehovah. Like I told you, not like Jehovah's Witnesses where you go knock on everybody's door. Hi, do you have a daughter of marrying age? No, not like that. But when a person is actually seeking a wife, you go to your religious center, you go to the church, the synagogue, the mosque. You say, I need a woman of marrying age because I need a wife. I'm a provider. I'm divorced. I have children at home. I need help. I need a woman. What do you say, Wesley?
Well, in answer to your first question, value between divorcees, male and female. Let me think. See, this is a very intricate subject. Okay, if someone has been divorced, 4 times, I'm going to think, you know what? There's something wrong with you, regardless of male or female. If someone's been divorced once, I'm not going to hold it too much against them. Now, if it's a woman and she got, 4 kids from that first marriage, like, why did you wait 4 kids to figure this out? So that's, and again, and even if she's a good person, me looking at that, I'm like, do I really want to take on 4 kids? So obviously, there is a value difference between males and females. It depends on, because if I'm going to be providing, do I really want to take on 4 other people's kids to provide for it? And is she going to be okay? Is she still trying to maintain some sort of contact with the father? It just gets way complicated. So it's just a big case by case situation.
I mean, well, you sound like Kay. You give case by case. No, but in this example, people often bring up polygamy. And when we're talking about Islam and marriages, people often bring up polygamy, which is rarely the case in Islamic culture or society. It's not common to see a man with multiple wives. But when it goes like this, where a woman is a divorcee or she is a widow, a long time ago, women would be on the streets because they couldn't work to provide for themselves and their children. So women would be on the streets. There weren't enough men to marry them. This is why polygamy is allowed in Islam, because many men died at war when they were going to war to battle for. So this is why there's polygamy in Islam, because I said these women should not be there on the street if a man is willing to take them on as family. And people could say, well, why you have to marry her? Why don't you just give money, give charity, and then let her be? Because eventually people get tired of giving charity when it's not family. Why take out of your family's mouth to give to this person? Instead, make that person your family. So that's the difference. And I know people, I think a lot of people thought that this conversation was going to be about polygamy because I said second marriage or second wife. That's not what I meant at all. And someone asked me also the question, like, if my husband wanted a second wife, would I allow it? Of course I would. I'm Muslim. Like, this is part of Islam. This is not, there's nothing wrong with it. But my question would be, why would you need it? Why do we need? But yeah, you have to be accepting of that. Muslim women, you can't say, okay, I enjoyed this part, but I'm not going to do this part. It does say that this is permissible. So I don't know. So what do you all think about this? What do you all think about the women being in need of a husband and men taking on extra wives? Or yeah, because it can't be the other way, because women are not going to take on men. So what do you think about that?
Well, in wartime versus peacetime, but in wartime, I think it's fine because it makes sense. But now, I would call that simpology. Men shouldn't do that at all. It's a lot of women out here that have multiple children by different men that have never been married, and you got men that are actually taking them in, and I look at them like they're crazy. I can't believe it. So I would say that's a no. That's a huge mistake if a man does that. He's going to mess up his legacy, his lineage. He's going to be very stressed out. And women like that are looking for weak men like that, very weak men that are what's the word here? Just easily manipulated. And again, in wartime it makes sense, but now I look at the value of women nowadays. The majority of them, the value of women nowadays is just if it was a NASDAQ or stock, we would value women on that scale. It would be extremely low, extremely low.
No. Why do you say it like that? No, but okay. Why would he be, as you call it, a simp? Because he wants another wife. What is
because he's knowingly taking on a woman that has been very irresponsible. So in wartime, like, because this has been, what you stated with Muslim culture is similar throughout a lot of people groups throughout history. Even in Judaism, when a married man dies in war, his brother would marry his wife, and he would have multiple wives. Well, that was to take care of that woman and the kids, and that was security. That was a
correct?
social net. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, what we're dealing with here, what Westside was talking about, is we have women that have 3 different kids from 3 different guys, and then there's a 4th guy that comes along and says, "You know what? I feel so bad for her and the kids. Like, I know I can do this. I'll take care of them. I'll be the daddy." He never is, because she never respects him.
This is horrible. So she's not going to respect him for taking on her children.
No,
right?
She didn't respect the first 3 guys. That's why she has 3 kids by 3 guys.
Wait, how did we get to this situation?
That
I
was-
thought we were speaking about.
That was the example that Westside was given there,
Ah,
as saying as it was a pure symbology for a man to take on a woman like that. But I think me and Westside were both kind of agreeing with you that if a man has died in battle, that it's okay for his wife and those children. It's okay for another man to marry that woman and take care of the kids.
Right.
Because
Well-
she's not going around and doing men dirty. It's just her
circumstances.
Yeah,
but
circumstances.
this is part of the reason why in our religion, this is part of the reason why the children belong to the father. Because imagine how the world would be if the fathers kept their power over their young instead of giving it to the mother.
Honestly,
Imagine how the world. Imagine
mean-
how the world would be different because Patty Cakes is here. Hi, girl. I'm gonna bring her in. But imagine how the world will be different when a man doesn't have to make a decision to take care of another man's children because the children are always with the father. Do you know what I mean? So I just think about that. Imagine how things would be different. We wouldn't be having this conversation of a woman's value. I understand because she's already been wed, but children, I don't know. I'm gonna bring in Patty Cakes. Hi, Patty Cakes.
Hi,
Hey.
hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Dana.
Can you be on camera?
Yeah, hold on. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, someone says it would be better. Damon says it would be better. I agree, and this is why
because there wouldn't be women calling that money moves.
Definitely. The court system wouldn't be allowed to do what it's doing today. There's so many things that would be different. And I believe that even children would grow up more stable by staying with the father instead of being uncertain about their futures with the mother. Because yes, women can work. I'm not saying that women aren't great parents. That's not what I'm saying. But it's a lot harder for a woman to be a proper disciplinarian, a proper provider, a proper everything. It's harder for a woman to do it than it is for a man. Anybody who disagrees, feel free to call in and disagree. Patty Cakes, how are you? What do you have on the subject?
Hi. I wanted to ask Westside Coolick, is that your name? I wanted to ask you a question. So, were the men back in the day, were they considered simps if if they took on a woman who had children or whatever the case may be? Were they simps too? Or is it just this generation, if you do it now, you're considered a simp?
How you doing there, Miss Patty Cakes? I would say I'm looking at it from the point of view what Ameera was saying, wartime and in peacetime. I would consider it in America, in this country here, we're in peacetime per se, even though we're in wartime, but we're in peacetime, right? I would say in wartime, that's okay. But to answer your question in particular, those men back in the day, yes, they were simps too. They're simps back then, they're simps now.
Wow. I
I'm gonna wait, but okay.
I I know a man who married a woman back in, one of the elders that I know married a woman who had children, kind of like it is today, but this is back in like the 50s or 60s. And you said something about his lineage being ruined
hmm
or something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, but wouldn't he still have lineage still if he had more children with the person? Or would it be all ruined or what?
In my book, in my teachings, it would be all ruined. We're not lions, we're not lionesses, we're not animals. But you look at that animal kingdom, what lions do to these cubs that are not theirs, they get rid of them. And there's a reason why they do that. When a man has to accept another man's litter or lineage or legacy, that does not reflect his bloodline. Matter of fact, it messes it up. And he has to basically, if a man can't see what he made with his wife, keyword wife, I didn't say girlfriend or whore or slut, I said wife. If he can't see the image of himself in this individual, it's never going to work. This is a sacred ritual between a man and a woman that only needs to happen. Now, in wartime, and again, it says in the Bible too, or whatever type of religious manual, in keyword war times, for a man to do that, that makes sense. But in times like that, where I'm taking on all these men's children that have left or that are on drugs or whatever it may be, it never works. And hence why, if you look at this community nowadays in America, this is why we're here today. We're always taking on things that don't belong to us and that should not be. So we're always cursing ourselves over and over and over again.
I was just trying to think about the Black community and how they, like back in the day where they were trying to get together to have a family, keep the family, even though, they took on. I just disagree with your sentiment in calling them simps as compared to the women, or how, when the men marry the women today. It's almost because there was a break, in the community, or what community means. Like, community means something different now than what it meant before. That's all. I just disagreed with that. That's all.
No, much respect. I'm just saying that I would want my son to take on another individual's children for many different reasons, and I don't want my family wouldn't want me to do the same thing also. And I what I think should be done is have some type of I don't want to say YMCA type thing, but a community center where you have these kids that can have mentors. I believe in mentorship, but I don't believe men should adopt children from a different marriage or whatever. That's always dangerous. Always dangerous.
I don't know. I mean, from what I know, this was seen as a very noble thing to do, a very selfless thing to do, if you had the means to do it. This is why, this is in the tradition, is like a man who is already married but sees a woman of need, or, who's struggling, and he takes her on because he is capable of doing so. He has the means and the resources to take care of both women and the young. When he did that, it was seen as noble. It was seen as something to be respected. And maybe just because the culture is different, that the children treat this man differently than how we see a lot of kids being disrespectful to their step parents who have no regard for them. They're just like, oh, who are you? You're not my mother. You're not my father. I don't need to. It's not like that for us. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen it as something noble by it. I do understand that in today's world, it's called simpish, but I believe that's because of the culture that we have here going on with women abusing the system, and the women have all the power. So that's why I think for us today, most men will call this simpish. Am I wrong?
Well, the situation in which in your culture, the situation in which those women became, husbandless and raising children. What was that situation? The husband died?
It could be death. Yes, most likely it was death in wartime. But
see, that's a totally different scenario than what me and Westside are presenting. It's just a lot of women here are, just going around reproducing, no care or concerns. They have multiple kids from multiple men, and it's like, that's a horrible track record. Why would any man logically look at that and say, okay, well, this is a real keeper here, 3 kids, 3 baby daddies, totally a winner. It's not like the woman had 3 kids with a husband and the husband passed away. That's a totally different scenario.
yeah, that's understandable, because we also do blame the woman the majority of the time if a marriage fails. What did you do to run a man off? Because typically men don't leave. So you have had to do something really badly. And if you were the one who initiated the divorce, well, then it's your fault again, because why did you leave? Why did you leave your man? So, Mr. Closer Condition, welcome in, welcome in. How are you?
How you doing, young lady? What's going on? This is a very good conversation. How you guys doing? I'm too loud? I'm too loud?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. What's going on?
And there's some static. We have like a bit of static going on. I know my mic has some
Sounded like
static.
the voice of God.
Can you lower it just a
All
little
right,
bit?
let me lower. How about now? Is that okay?
I was this close to repenting.
Is that better?
Sounds the same to me.
All right, how about now?
It's getting there a little bit.
I don't know why it's so loud. I got to turn it all the way down.
Okay, well, all right. So what do you have on topic?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just want to add to the discussion. I think what Westside Logic and the West and what the brothers are saying is very succinct. I grew up very traditional. Grew up, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal holiness, and I think Westside Logic is correct. Men have been sold this nebulous notion that if you do the right thing, you're going to get the right thing in return. And what happens a lot of times when men live those very traditional and conservative lives, they don't get the outcomes that they waited for. If a man is a virgin, most men want women that are virgins, and because in fair exchange there is no robbery. What is the benefit of waiting, and doing the right thing, but you get a woman that has been with a lot of men, or she lied? Because many will lie about the past; they don't tell you the whole truth. And I think if a woman do lie about the past, there should be a penalty, because that's marriage fraud. But many times men get in relationships hoping for a wholesome woman. What did men of the past get for their servitude, for them providing and protecting? My mother and my father have been married for over 50 years. My mother was a virgin. My dad, was older than my mom by a couple of years. All of my mom's kids are by my dad. My grandmother was one too. And so, that's what men work for, because men by nature are very territorial. Men by nature want to protect what's theirs, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Most men don't like to have the thought of their woman being entered by multiple men. That's what men are just wired that way. And I think, women try to compare and say it's the same, but it's not the same. Because in fair exchange, there's no robbery. If a woman comes into a relationship with 7 to 10 guys, or 20 or 30, the man has 20. What is he getting in return? Because what men got 40, 50, 60 years ago was a woman that was chaste, a woman that was wife ready, and a woman that didn't have any kids. Now, Patty Cake was talking about women of the past. Women of the past, even if they did have kids by a man, they didn't have kids by multiple men. And women of the past knew that if they had kids, that their stock was lower and they were a lot more humble. You got women coming to relationships now. I'm sorry, you raised. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The chat says that their ears are bleeding. So can we just turn it down?
I don't know what's going on.
There's no way?
Well,
I tell you what.
Your mic settings.
If there's nothing we can do, guys.
Okay, hold tight. Let's talk to the other guys. Let me see if I can turn it down. I don't know why it's so loud. I'll try to turn it down. Hold tight.
Okay.
You can talk with the other guys until I get it down. I apologize.
Okay then.
I agree with the kosher commission. So my personal story is my father was his first wife. He divorced his first wife because he came home from the war. She cheated on him. She was a couple months pregnant with another man's child. So he ended up meeting my mom, who did have you know, children. And as a result of them getting together, me, my brother and sister were born. Now, I am kind of like Mr. Culture Clinician, as I am Kojak. So
Right.
in my realm, you're just supposed to always have a wife and a family. Period.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just that's just the way it was back in those days. So that's why I kind of was listening to you on West Side on your comments, and you're right. They did have to humble. I even asked my mother, and I was like, you know, so what did you do? Or and you know, and she had to like the women took her, and this is another thing about back in the day. The women from the church took her, put her in all these different types of classes, taught her how to humble herself, how to make sure and prepare herself for him and also for the children that she was going to give him.
What was
So
that
she
called?
put
Pardon? What was that called, ma'am?
Church of God in Christ.
So in the church, they were teaching the women how to be proper wives.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's
Ah,
it. They
that's awesome.
yeah, they were because family and community, that was it. Those were the two those were the two things that the women in the church were that was their responsibility. You know what I mean? Like you know, you're supposed to take care of the children. You're supposed to raise,
Yes.
you know, productive, you know, children to be adults.
Yes.
And then they go out into the community. We all do things in the community. We give food. You know what I mean? It was all about that. So, but I do understand West Side and West, you all's point where there's none of that today.
Right.
And well, I'm married, so I'm not out there in the world, but I do have friends, and I've seen some situations where for the average man that's out there trying to find their mate, and they do come across maybe a woman that has a child or children, you know, there's way too many circumstances. You know, you can be a woman who does have a child, is pretty mild mannered, but you still have all these other tendencies, like you want to be out on social media, you want to, and you don't want to let any of that go because that is your independence. So I do get you guys' point though.
I see from Liani, she says, thank you, Miss Patty Cakes. I see that she says, Ameera, where did you get this nonsense that men don't leave for no good reason? What a joke. I get that because of the divorce rates of who is initiating divorce. I get that from life experience. Seeing couples, you can look anywhere you go and see who is the one who's typically complaining, who is the one who has expectations that are absurd. You know, that you have to be happy all the time. You have to feel in love. You have to feel butterflies. I can't get bored. You need to get me what I want at all times. I must be the most important thing in your life. And if I'm not, then there's a problem. That's coming from women most of the time. So that's where I get it from. And then I see one more comment. I want to just hold on one second. I just saw it. Someone said, let's speak about the abuse that happens behind the scenes. I swear, some people just really love hearing stories about people getting hurt. This is not what this is about. We're not talking about abuse. And I don't understand why that has anything to do with this conversation. All right. That was all.
Trauma bonding. A lot of people love trauma bonding. That's a I want to add on too also for us men today, also what's noble to do is to take on women that are about that Pretty Woman story. If you guys haven't seen that movie with Julia Roberts and that Pretty Woman thing, a lot of women nowadays are just like that, but they have great careers. They can hide their past lives, but men are supposed to take on, you know, all these things nowadays. It's just too much. You're supposed to be the stepdaddy to all these other children. We're supposed to take these women that have been out there with multiple men. I mean, a lot of men. It's a lot of things us men have to deal with. I mean, women like, okay, you're not man enough, or you're insecure if you don't do this and that. And I'm like, y'all have no idea what it is to be in our shoes. Y'all don't know. Y'all couldn't handle it. Women, I'm saying this, women, you all have it easy. Y'all get it very easy. Y'all really do.
You can't say that to a Western woman. No, we have the most difficult situations ever. We are constantly being abused. We're also treated unfairly in every court. We're treated unfairly. We need equality. We need more equality because we don't have enough rights. I'm not sure which rights we don't have, but apparently there's a list of rights that we don't have as women.
It's some rights we don't have.
Can you tell me the right that we don't have here? I'm not exactly sure. I could be wrong.
No.
Open to being wrong.
Well,
No,
you know,
you got it.
am I still echoing, or is that better?
No, it's a lot better.
Okay,
A lot better.
right. You know, my heart goes out to Wes, and I want to ask Wes a couple of questions, you know, because, you know, his story is somewhat similar to mine, but what did it do to your psyche, Wes, as a man, to go through that arduous maze of, you know, trying to be chaste and doing the right thing till you got a so-called, you know, chaste wife, only to find out that it was nebulous? And I would solicit to you, don't blame God for it, because God didn't have anything to do with it. I would say blame society and blame the church to some degree, because it happens to a lot of men. You know, once again, you know, women of old knew that in order to get a quality man, she had to come to the table being wife ready, no children, and willing to serve her husband. She had to be chaste. It was just normal. It was just normal. You know, being a virgin was, you know, it was just part of the contract. But now you got women that got 4 and 5 kids by different men. They, you know, they tell you you're not a real man for taking care of her misgivings. And guys, that's really psychological manipulation. Don't fall for it. One of the reasons why I decided to be a therapist, because I realized that a lot of men were being underrepresented. And one of the reasons I decided to do the Coach Clinician and the Manhood Chronicles was to give men the opportunity to share their story through what I call a cyber barbershop. Many men are suffering silence, you know, and many men want to get the best outcomes, but 30% of men now, Ameera, are virgins. They're virgins, 30%. So what are those 30% of men going to get? Are they going to get virginal women? They're not going to. The chances of a man getting a virgin in this culture is very slim to none. I would say he can't even get a woman that's been with under 10 men. And so what is he getting in return? Nothing. So you want a man to, you know, put his life on the line, to take care of you and your kids. You're not bringing him anything to the table. Most are not wife ready. Most are not virgins or have low body counts, and most have kids by other men. But you still expect him to be traditional. You still want him to pay all the bills, and that's not fair exchange. That's robbery. And so, you know, when people say, well, you know, push marriage, push it for what? What are the men getting in return? We forgot to ask the men what do they want. And so when men don't get their needs met, they suffer in silence. A lot of men, Ameera, will love to be with traditional women that come into the relationship to serve. There was a time in the black community where black women were some of the most conservative women in the world. Our sisters kept themselves, they carried themselves to a high standard. The black woman that you see now is not black women 40, 50, 60 years ago. They were different. But when they got influenced by the sexual liberation movement, liberal indoctrination by white liberals, our black sisters became infiltrated, and many believed the lie. And so when you have good women that try to more or less lead the parade of being a quality woman, they'll call them mammies and pick-me's. And, you know, being a pick-me was normal back in the day, you know, because a woman wanted a ring. Women in other countries know if they want a man's hand in marriage, they have to come to that table willing to give that man something in return. So being a pick-me is an honorable thing. So when people try to say me, say, oh, she's a pick-me, she's a mammy, that's what she's supposed to be. And the men of old knew that in order to get a quality woman, they had to bring something to the table. But see, nowadays, you know, men are still expected to be traditional 100%, while she can pick and choose when to be traditional. And a lot of men are saying, to hell with it, we're not going to do it. And as a therapist, I don't think men should do it, because there are not enough therapists more or less speaking up and advocating for black men. And because of that, a lot of men are suffering in silence. When they do struggle, they just tell them to deal with it, pat them on the head. When they have depression, when they're about to lose their children, when they're about to lose their homes, we just pat them on the head and say, deal with it, suck it up. And nobody care about the struggles or the mental health of men. But the warrior class can rise no higher than the class of nurturers that support that warrior class. So who's supporting and protecting the ego of the American man? Nobody. And that's why men get angry. You know, they go on these red pill rages. You know, they get, you know, they delete themselves. They hurt other people because they don't have a vacuum to share their story. They don't have a place to talk about their pain. Anytime we talk about our pain, we're supposed to say, shut up, just deal with it. And, men are saying the hell with it. And so I know what Wes went through. I know what a lot of other men have been through because I've been through it to some degree. Growing up in church, I thought, women with sugar and spice and everything nice. I thought, and I knew women weren't perfect, but I thought that they were, were doing the right thing and being chaste too. But they weren't. They weren't chaste like most women in foreign cultures. And I'm not saying all foreign women are perfect either. But normally cultures that have that Judeo-Christian, Judeo or Islamic, concept or Christian concept that's orthodox, the women tend to adhere to patriarchal standards and patriarchal norms. The men are happier, the societies are happy. But like Ameera said, anytime we talk about male issues, it's always about through the lens of abuse. But watch this. In most relationships, domestic abuse is bidirectional. A Harvard study said that most domestic abuse cases are actually initiated by women. So,
Exactly.
so when people say, well, how about abuse? Well, abuse is bidirectional. Women abuse men, and when the woman hit the man or sock him in the mouth, the man finishes off. But most men are not the initiators of abuse. The women are, and the men just tend to finish it. So, we got to start having these conversations more, and that's why I do what I do, because I don't like seeing men suffer in silence. I believe in fair exchange. I believe that if a woman wants love, protection, security, maintenance, then that man should get a woman with no kids, a woman that's chaste to low bodies, and a woman that don't have any kids, and a woman that's wife ready. That's fair exchange. If he can't get that, then why is he giving his servitude to a woman that's not going to respect him, like Logic said? They're not going to respect him. They're just going to use him for a resource, because women tend to love opportunistically. Men tend to love on pragmatism, and that's a succinct difference between the two.
I have watched a show recently, Mr. Kosher Clinician. Every time you speak, it is like it's almost like you're reading a book from your head. Does that make sense? Like you have your thoughts in such order that you never even say or you never. You just speak as if you're reading from a book. So that's why I say you should probably write a book. But I want to add to your point, like, yes, I understand what you mean too. And I was watching a show called Steve Harvey, and he had a couple on his show. And the woman, she was demanding traditionalism from her husband. But when he turned and he asked her, like, okay, I guess Steve Harvey was asking her, you know what, I might even react to that on my channel. But when Steve Harvey asked her what she's looking for, she had a whole list of what this man has to be and so on. But when he asked the man what his list is, he didn't want to say anything. But Steve Harvey pressed him, and he ended up actually saying what he really wants, and the woman was offended.
Right.
She was like, so if I don't do this, I'm not worthy. That's what she said. I'm not worthy if I don't do this. Let me ask you all this. What do you think about second marriages from, I won't say from a woman's point of view because we already saw this, but what do you think about it from a man who remarries? What is typical of the second marriage? Is it usually better than the first? What type of woman does he typically marry? Since he already has been through a marriage, what's the second wife typically like? And do you think that, I don't know, you guys just give me your honest opinions on that.
Well, if I get married again, it's going to be way better than the first time because I know what to watch out for.
Right. Well, what I would say in the West, men are not getting, most second marriages have a higher divorce rate than the first marriages. And so, as people go through that karmic cycle of marriage and divorce, it tends to get worse because, as you get older, you pick up bad habits, and you pick up the bad habits of the person that you were dealing with in the past. And so, I've been married for 26 years. If I did it again, I probably would, get my wife from a foreign country, South Africa, or Brazil, or Ghana, Nigeria, or I don't know, Colombia, or Thailand, or wherever. But because I am a traditional man, it would be hard for me to find the kind of woman that I want. And at my age, I don't have time to train a woman on what I expect in the relationship. And so most would say that the second marriages tend to be a lot worse, because, you're dealing with more drama, you're dealing with more headaches. And, I would think that, second marriages don't have the same efficacy rate as first. And I would even say that many times the satisfaction is not as great. But just like Wes said, and also Westside Colic is saying, because we understand better now, because we are red pill rare, we understand and we know what to look for. Many men got into marriage for the first times not having a full panoramic view on understanding women, but we understand women better now because we've been conditioned through these cyberspaces to see certain elements and certain traps that are associated with modern women. So I would say that if you know what you know now, you can perhaps get a better woman. But going into second marriages, many men they're still blue pill going into second marriages, and because of that, they tend to have worse outcomes because they never learned from the behavior of the woman the first time around.
That's understandable. That's very understandable. And I have heard that statistic for Western marriages that typically if the first one didn't work out, that I've seen women who get married again and again and again. Sorry, women and men that get married again and again and again. It's too much. I guess in our case it was a little bit different. But what does anybody else think about it?
I mean, I hope it would get better for the man the second go round if he gets married again. I hope she would look better. She would be more conservative in terms of how she's treated her body. Hopefully she can bring all the womanly duties. And yes, womanly duties are what? Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children, educating the household, taking care of the household, things like that. Things the women of today are not doing today. They say that's oppressing women and stuff like that, which is not. Because I've noticed that women that know how to do these things are just overall balanced and happier in their life than women that are doing these masculine type activities. And it always works out when they get older, when they get in their late 30s and early 40s, you see the change. But to stay on point here to your question, I would hope that in that second marriage, the man would learn from that first lesson. But me, if I get married one day, I take it very serious. It's like in blood for me. I take it very serious. That's why
Right.
a potential wife for me, she has to be almost perfect in each section. And I owe myself that. Men that deserve that, have lived your life a certain way, you deserve that too. Don't go out here and accept all this madness these women are putting on. Just like Coach said, they're pulling a game on you. They can have all these kind of misguided negative things they've done in their life, but when it comes to you got to be perfect and all that. No, men, you make sure, because we're the building blocks of society, you make sure the woman is all that she can be.
I agree.
I think it depends on the man and his mission. I think if a man has a mission to fulfill, and the first wife just wasn't ready or part of it or did something stupid or whatever the case is, I've seen men who are on their mission and they want to keep being on their mission, and they find another wife and they keep going. They just keep and they stay married. I'm pretty sure that the statistics say that second marriages, a lot of them don't work, yada yada yada. But what I've seen, and I'm just talking about anecdotally, I've seen the men keep going. He gets another wife, and and they stay married for longer, and he has another family, and he's happier, and he's going, and it's until death do them part. So I think it depends on him, what he's looking for. He obviously knows what he's not looking for because he's married again. So
Can I ask you, all of you, the second marriage, is the woman typically younger than the first wife? Is she typically more of a match for him than the first wife? Or is
definitely,
it
I would think so.
yeah.
someone once said, I heard this before, where they said a man will never go down in looks, whilst a woman would never go down in providing potential or finances, something like that. Like the example is, if a woman, her first boyfriend has a car, she's not going to date a man anymore who doesn't have a car because she's already been treated a certain way. The bar has been raised, so she will not go down again. She will not go back down. This is why a lot of women, we have these expectations of men that have to be so high, yeah. But in a man's case, he will not get, like, if he started off with a woman who is model-esque, he's not then going to have a second wife or marry again or be in another relationship with a woman that is not that. Is that true?
I would say it is. I would say it is true. But I again, men, I just hope you guys, if you're going to do this marriage thing, if you do it for a second time, which I think is crazy in general. If I get married one time, that's it. I'm done. But I would agree, Ameera. Yeah, I would agree. Women make sure they keep the status if they get married again, or a better status, and men, they make sure the woman is younger and more vibrant and more succulent and all that kind of thing like that. Yeah, I would agree.
Succulents. So, okay then. And so my next question to you is, what about polygamy? What about a man with 2 wives? When would be the situation when you need to add another wife? Or I remember Mr. Kulik said it was seen as simpish, but now that we have Mr. Kosher Clinician here and Miss Patty Cakes, what are your two views? I know, Wesley, I think you had already responded as well. What are your guys' views on a second wife?
Are you talking about a second wife in a polygamous relationship, or are you talking about a second wife after divorce? Which one?
In a polygamous relationship. Now, this is different from the first question because I'm wondering what you see in polygamy.
Yeah, I'm torn on it because, and most, I grew up Judeo-Christian. The gospel says that God allowed men to have second wives in the Old Testament because of the hardening of the heart. But he said that, in New Testament, if you believe in that, not trying to push my faith, but he said it was for men to be only with one woman. But I think it's ideal for community building. If you look at for the construct of a community, and with so many women won't have the opportunity to get a husband, I think it's a very powerful concept, but not polygamy for the typical modern woman. A polygamous woman in your culture, Ameera, has not been with a lot of men. She might have 1 or 2 or 3 kids, but they were only with her husband. So that's a better suitable woman. A modern woman in America has been imprinted by multiple men with multiple kids by multiple men. So, if it was permissible in America, yeah, I would take a second wife that was imprinted only maybe by one man, maybe. But because the laws are so caustic here in America, it doesn't benefit men to take on that burden because it's a burden. It's a burden. It's a burden sometimes taking care of your own kids. And I don't mean it like you don't want to take care of your kids. You love taking care of your kids, but it's very labor intensive. So why would I take care of another man and his children? So it just depends on the concept and the context and how you move. But in America, I wouldn't do it. Not in America, I would, because it doesn't benefit me. In another country where the laws are more equitable and more favorable on my end, if the woman was a very traditional woman, if she had maybe 1 child, but she was willing to come in and serve, yeah, I would do it if it was permissible in another country, but not in America. I definitely wouldn't do it.
Well, in America, with the family courts here, that would be double trouble going to court. Oh,
right. It would be double trouble, right.
Right. The laws here are so backwards. We need to actually do a stream on that, guys. I want to lay out the family court laws so that all men beware, and women, of course, but mostly men because they are the ones who are losing in this situation. We need to lay down all the laws and let everyone know what are the possibilities if your marriage doesn't work out and how much power really does a woman have, because we've heard horror stories, but there's a lot worse stories out there that I could present to you all that I've seen. Miss Patty Case.
So I've come in contact with family members that were 4th wife. They were of the Muslim faith, and they end up leaving. Now I don't know if that is for American Muslim women, but they ended up leaving because they complained that they didn't get adequately what they requested from the man. So
wait, can I ask you, what do you mean? And was that mahr or like a dowry, or what did they ask for that they didn't get?
Time. They wanted specific some type of set aside time, and I think this is weird, but I think she was the financial wife. In a sense. You say that.
I don't understand what a financial wife is.
She was a financial. She had a really good job.
She does the bookkeeping.
She had a really good job. She also did the bookkeeping. She made sure that everything was in place and in order. He didn't have to do any of that kind of stuff. but she wanted her time, and she did not get her time, and so she, I guess, went and asked for a divorce or something. Like, I'm not sure how it all, how it happens, but um if you were raised and that is your culture, then that's fine, because I understand. But if you're raised in a totally different household, and then you come across to become a second or a third or a fourth wife in a polygamy relationship, I think that's problematic. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying.
So you're saying if this is normal to you, then it's okay. But if it's something that's foreign to you, that you should not put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
Well, if a person knows what this situation is, right? Let's say it's an American, and Americans are doing this no matter what anyway, but you guys aren't doing it legally. So many people in American couples, they have a woman on the side, and everybody knows about one another, but you're just not doing it legally. So why would you need to be immersed in a culture, emerged or immersed? Why would you need to be involved in a culture to understand this concept?
The culture brings order to it.
Right.
The culture brings order and reason to it.
The man can bring order and reason to it. The man
there is
could.
no order and reason in the way the Western culture has been practicing this. That's kind of the problem. When women are having multiple kids with multiple guys, and guys are just like, oh, well, I can just friggin' put a little here and put a little there, and I got kids I don't know about. There's no order to that. There's no function to that part of society. It's wasteful. It's chaos. But within
what we have now is chaos, because we're doing it now without the legal part, the legality of it.
It's okay. So we are in agreement with that is chaos. Is bringing no value to society for men and women to be running amok and just having kids everywhere and not keeping track of them. But within a social structure like Islam, like your religion, you don't have people running around. You have people actually taking care of their families.
For example, so Ameera, were you born Muslim?
Yes.
Okay, and everyone in your family is a Muslim?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're born from that and you've been engulfed in it all your life, that's fine. If you are a Western woman who maybe grew up in a household where maybe they were Christian and said, I don't want to be a Christian anymore, I'm going to go be a Muslim. They get into the Muslim faith, they get immersed in it, they do everything that is all required of them, and then they say, well, you know what, I want to be a wife number 3. So then they come in, they can't still handle it. They are still bucking the system. That's what I think West means by it's chaotic in that sense. Because they're here you can do what you want. We don't have those rules, and we push, hey, go and be you and do your own thing and live your own life and all that kind of stuff. So I think that the transition into orderly, like, America is chaotic. We have so many different religions, or so many different ways that we live, and the things that we do and say. We could just do anything, but to have order bestowed upon us in a polyamorous setting is a whole nother thing, even if it is religious based.
I want to tell you, yes, I am Muslim, but I did not grow up in a polyamorous family. I didn't grow up in a polygamous family. So even though I've heard of it and I know that it's permissible, I've never seen it in my own personal life. Does that make sense? So I would be in the same situation as any other woman would be in it, because you've never been through it and you don't know how you're going to feel until you're actually in it. Because even if you've already seen it in your life, you could still have feelings of inadequacy, of jealousy, of envy. You can still have it no matter what, even if you've seen it or not, because you never experienced it. So I don't I don't think that this is something that a woman has to be prepared for culturally. I think this has to be a decision, and she has to be with a man that will lay down the laws for the family. Because if the man is stable, this is my view, if the man is stable and he is direct with what needs to be done and what this is, I believe that all women will follow along, just like how baby ducks follow the mama duck, if everything with the man is in order. But if you have a man who is not standing firm, who is still kind of like not really caring about the issues that could come, like envy and jealousy, then I think that can create a problem. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong in that sense, but I think even if you didn't see it in your household, you were aware of it. You were if you went to someone else's house, or if you were among another family that was, you know, they were in that situation, I think you were, it probably was like, oh yeah, well, you know, their family does that, we don't do that, but you understand it like fully. Like, you might not have been raised in it, but you understand it, and you know that it can happen. That's just not the same.
Possibly. Look, I will not discount anybody's view on that because I don't know. And I think you will only know if you're actually in the situation. I don't think that anyone can look at it. It's just like doing anything, like driving. You can see someone drive, you can understand what's happening, but it doesn't mean that you know how you're going to feel once you're the one behind the captain's seat. So, with that, do you all think, so my banner questions were like this. Here, I had, why marry a divorced man? What are the benefits to marrying a divorced man? Do any of you see any benefit in this, in marrying a divorced man? Woman, we've already decided that there's not much benefits because the man is the provider and he's going to end up taking on too much. What will be the benefits of a woman marrying a divorced man?
I'll say this and I gotta leave. I'll say if the man didn't get divorce rate, he's a lot wiser, he's a lot more mature, and he's on his trajectory as a man. He's on his onward trajectory because he's gonna start making more money than he's ever had. If he was not divorced, harshly, meaning the woman took all of his assets and she left him broke. But normally, if the man is cogent, conscious, he's been through therapy, he's been aware through movements like in these red pill spaces. I think he can become a better man. The only problem is a lot of men don't want to get married again if they've been through divorce because they see it as dangerous. But if he's a man where the woman was fair and equitable, or they had a prenup, I think he's a lot more wiser. He's a lot more secure in himself. And men get better with age. We get a lot more mature with age. We get a lot more, we get wiser in age. In theory, that's not all men, but in theory, the points that I'm talking about is true. So I think a divorced man definitely carries a high ground if he's a very wise man, he's well read, and he's learned from the era of his way. But I'm saying in theory, because we know that there are exceptions to that rule.
You did mention red pill spaces. So do you believe that only red pill men need do this? Because if you are blue pilled, you will fail automatically?
Right.
Or
I think if a man is still caught up in this karmic cycle called America, I think he's going to put himself through more pain and hurt. But I think if a man is cerebral or more or less panoramic in his worldview and his purview, Ameera, I think he's barely equipped to deal with the ravages of a second marriage. But he's a man that needs to go through therapy, through a masculine therapist like myself, not most modern Western therapists. And I think if he can go through those various mazes, he'll come out on top because he knows what to look for. He knows how to broker power in the relationship. He knows how to demand power instead of more or less jousting for power. And I think when you go in a relationship demanding power as it relates to what he's going to give that woman, then the outcome's a lot more beneficial for that man and that woman. Because in a relationship, when the man is benefiting, when the woman is benefiting, you have what's called homogeny. They both are on the same page. He's getting what he wants. She's getting what he wants because she wants. Because in fair exchange, Ameera and the panel, there's no robbery in fair exchange. And what American men are saying, Lenny Kravitz, he wrote the song. I'm going to do a show on it soon, maybe tomorrow. But it was called American Woman. And it was talking about the behaviors of American women. And it supersedes ethnic hue or race. It's just the nature of American women, sadly. And that's the predicament that a lot of our women are in now. And it's not
Okay.
all American women. It's a larger percentage. There are some good sisters like Patty Cake, I believe, that are traditional and trying to do the right thing. But I would say, about 70, at least 50 to 60% of American women represent the disdain and the pain and the distress that many modern men see. And because of that, many men are saying, you know what? I don't want any parts of it, because it's hard to find traditional conservative women that are wife ready, and they want to come into the relationship helping that man meet his mission and his mandate on earth. And so a lot of men are saying, you know what? I'm not putting myself in this foolishness. I'll just stay single, travel, stack my money until I can get the woman that I want.
I think it's crazy how we can say this about men. It's not that crazy. It is a double standard, but when we think about women, the divorced woman, it's almost the opposite. It's not like, oh, she's so wise and she knows what she wants now because she's already been through a marriage and all. It's typically more negative, which I can understand. Like I said, I can understand, but the double standard is clear here, and I don't really see anything really wrong with it, but just hearing you all speak and how we're talking about the man, how he's refined and, he gets better with age and he's more mature and he understands. And these are all the things that I praise about my husband. But if it were me being the divorcee, and me marrying another man, that would be bad. All bad for me. So I don't know. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate the honesty. And
Well,
the
if your
double standard.
husband died or he was in war or something, that's different. But if you guys divorced because of civil disobedience or some kind of civil discourse or something like that, or where you guys just didn't agree, you just got tired of them. Women in America get married, divorce a man, for no fault. He don't have anything wrong. She might say, well, I don't love him anymore, or I'm not happy, and she'll get a divorce. It just depends on the circumstance. If your husband died in war or he just died, and I think that's different.
That is true. The reasons that women are divorcing today are trivial. Women are divorcing for anything.
Right.
So yes, I agree. Thank you so much, Mr. Closure Connection. I know you have to go.
Thank you, dear. And thank you to the panel, Patty Cake, Wes, and Logic. You guys check me out when you get time. Thank you.
I've seen you.
Much
Will
respect.
do. Yes, sir. Bye-bye. Oops. I want to bring in Jazz as well. Hey, Jazz.
Hey.
Hey.
How are
Hold on.
Good.
Hey,
Jonathan.
Wes. How are you? Hey, panel.
Hey.
Respect. How you doing?
Hello.
Do you have anything on topic?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on marrying a man that has been previously married. And yeah, it's like you were saying, is awesome. Like he knows exactly what he wants. There's no confusion. He knows how to lead. He knows how to be a husband. He knows the things that he did not do so well in his previous marriage, and he fixed it in our marriage. And it's really like, I don't know, it's like I get the mature of him, the mature man of him, because he got to learn and figure out what it was that he didn't do well and what it is that he wanted.
Isn't that kind of selfish? I mean, I know, like, for me, and this is why I didn't want to speak about it this way, because the more honest we are as women about this situation, the more selfish we sound. But it is true. Like, I feel that I got the best part of my husband,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, the first marriage was not what it needed to be, and there was a very legit reason why it terminated. But
Mhm.
I feel like I got the best part of him. I got him in older age. I got
Yeah.
him more mature, more stable, more everything. So
Mhm.
yes, I mean,
I,
it may sound
I
bad,
would
but
just I would just like to add, and probably if this is your first husband and his second wife, and I'm pretty sure you already know the game. He's probably told you some things and things that happened in the previous, and he's like, yeah, I don't want to go through that anymore. So you're
Mhm.
better prepared. You're better equipped for what
Right.
he needs or what he's looking for. So it's
Right.
definitely probably a benefit for him. Like I said, he's learned. He's like, I won't tolerate this. He knows what he wants. He
Mhm.
knows how he wants everything to be. He can lead, you
Right.
know. and
I mean,
and with finding a woman that he can actually have do that, and she should be like, if she's smart, she's like, okay, this is the game. All right, he doesn't want this, so I need to move this way. You know what I mean? Like you, that takes a 1000% true woman to be like, I am going to do differently, or I don't want to misstep or go this route. I want to get on his page, and I want to do things to make him happy, support him and his needs and everything, all about him.
right.
I
Absolutely.
want to add
I
on.
want to talk
on.
about this comment really quickly, guys. Don't forget what you're going to say. But this comment says, she did all the hard work and you reap the benefits. I see you, Ameera girl. Well, I'm joking. No, were you serious? You can't force a man. You cannot push a car sideways. If the man wants to change, he will change for himself. It's not she did work. She didn't do anything. That's an absurd thing to say. But go ahead, Mr. Kulik. I'm
Did all
sorry.
the hard work.
Yeah, I want to add to, it benefits women too that have this type of motive. They can see a lot of women that are on this type, I'm not saying all, but women that are on this type of mission here, they might can see the weakness and downfall of the man once he's divorced. So they might want to come in there and sweep in there and do what they got to do and take over. Sometimes that can turn into a good situation, but I've noticed that men that are married and they get married the second time, they get with a woman that is, they have their mission and see the weakness. They see the male that's depressed and down and weak. So they pounce on them. They take over.
Yeah. Those more like blue pill, though, don't you think?
What's blue pill?
Like if the man is like in a blue pill space, yeah, and then he's just divorced and he's weak and he'll just take any woman that comes at him. Don't you think that that's more like a blue pill trait?
I think we've lost definition in the pills. I mean, there's so many of them out there. That's why my chosen pseudonym is kind of makes fun of it.
I can explain. A red pill man is a actual man. He doesn't put a woman above himself. A blue pill man is the exact opposite. He puts the woman before himself.
Simp.
So is this what it is? It's like, okay, if the man is blue pill, then the women actually come and swoop him up and take him, as you said, Mr. Kulik.
Well, in terms of definition, yes. From what you just said, Ameera, yes, definitely. I just noticed that it doesn't work because I've seen this. I've seen men 36, 34 get married again, which is sad to me. I can't believe it. And then they get with the second wife, and then she is just an evil piece of crap. And I mean, it is what it is. But they don't learn that first time. They don't. A lot of men don't get women in their nature and psychologically how they move. They don't get it. They don't want to accept it. They don't want to learn it. This needs to be a whole college, undergraduate or master's program, women's mind, especially a Western woman's mind. Seriously.
I want to do this. I'm serious. I really want to do this. I have to figure out the way we're going to label each episode and each chapter, but I want to go through this because we have a great panel. We have great people in the comments who are constantly throwing ideas out there and constantly speaking on their own experiences in life and dating. This kind of stuff really interests me because this is humanity. Your life is about relationships. So yes, I would love to do that.
Mr. Westside, I don't agree. I'm pretty sure if you've seen it, that's okay. You've seen it. That's fine. No.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about a man's man. I'm talking about a man who knows what he wants. And he's not just, I'm going to divorce her and marry the next chick who just looks better, and I could just parade her around my friends. And I don't think it's that shallow for a man's man to, like, if he has done it and he knows what he did wrong, he knows what she did wrong, the first wife. I just don't think that he just run off and just marry and then it's just hell, it's more hell and more, blah, blah, blah. If he's not picking right, I don't think that he's
most men don't know. I'm telling you, most men, especially millennial men and younger, they don't know what they want. They always thinking from a woman's perspective. And then they're afraid. Mary was talking about this. They're afraid to even say what they want. She was talking about that guy on the Steve Harvey show. They're even afraid to say, "Hey, you know what? I want a woman that can cook." Men are afraid to even say that. I tell these women on a date, whenever, you better come here with this. If you can't, get out. Get out. And I'm not afraid to say, if more men are afraid that want to lay the law down and say, okay, this is what a woman is to me, this is what I'm going to accept, things will change. But a lot of men, a lot of men are scared of women. I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of men are frightened of women, like real, to talk to them, to tell them what it is. I mean, they are.
Who do they surround themselves with? Like who
a lot of these men that he's talking about are, raised by single mothers, and they just don't really have an understanding.
That has nothing to do with
it.
There's
a lot of women though. There's a lot of women that are offended by men are wanting affection. Okay, men are wanting a relationship. They're wanting affection. Problem is, most of the women they're running into these days are not offering traditional traits. So it's very common to find
my husband demanded traditional traits. He said, "This is what I want. This is what we're gonna do. And if you're not gonna get on the program, you can move to the side."
But was this your first? I know this is a little bit personal. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. But you're his second wife. Is he your first husband?
Yes.
So yes. So how did that work out for you guys when he comes and he has the demands, and did your parents agree to it? Were your parents all right with it?
I don't really talk to my parents. My father died, and me and my mother we don't have a good relationship. But when we met, like once things got serious, he sat me down and was like, "Okay, I don't cook, I don't clean. I don't want a career woman. I want someone to take care of my kids." He said, "I want as many kids as I want. So it's up to you." And I was like, okay.
Wow.
I see value in him, and I'm like, I'll do it. I'll be whatever you need me to be. And him pushing those traditional values on me taught me a lot, and it helped raise me up to be the woman I am today.
Wow.
I wasn't raised, with a father in the home, and I felt like he kind of fathered me for, most of our marriage.
You guys heard it here. This is beautiful. To me, this is beautiful. Other women might see this as like, fathered her. Oh, the incest.
Well, isn't that what marriage is? And I'm asking this to the women. Isn't that what marriage is? The father basically molds the female to the husband to be, if you will, I don't want to say stepfather, but that father in the image, but he's the husband. I mean, that's what I've been told and taught. So what's wrong with that? These Western women have perverted and made things so silly and ignorant and demonic. I mean, it's just, they're so disrespectful, and it's why they're miserable.
That's so true. I married a man that's just like my father. Like, I think that's what my father approved of him, because so much alike. And he's like, okay, this is good. This is a great option, but you're right.
I think that you should, like, it's almost like if I grow up in a household where I didn't have A, B, and C when I was younger, when I move out the household, I have an opportunity to go and do research. I could go to school. I can go to classes. I can go to counseling. I can do things to be better prepared for the person that I'm supposed to be with. And I don't want to sound harsh, but I just don't think it's an excuse to use I grew up this way and therefore that's all I know. I grew up one way. I didn't know a lot of stuff when I got to be an adult, but I went to go research and I went to go be a better person. Like, I just wanted to do better, and I wanted to do better than my parents, or better than, what I thought was better. But I just can't stand by the excuse of, okay, I didn't have it. You could say I didn't have it, but now I went and I researched on how to get it or do it or be it or whatever, which is fine with me. But I don't think if you're 37 years old and you're still saying using the same excuses that you've been using all your life without trying to do better. I don't believe in that. I'm sorry.
So the commenter says, so this is what we're doing. We're raising grown women. And no, she should already be raised, but you have to mold. There is a certain amount of molding that a husband has to do, especially if you get a young wife. If a wife is
I know what he's
young,
talking about.
yeah, there is going to be a certain amount. And then men, if you guys don't like that, you don't like that concept, or you feel like that's too much responsibility, I don't really recommend even jumping into it, because this is part of it. This is my view. You guys can disagree. I'm open to hear a disagreement. But me being a married woman, I was molded by my husband.
Well, I don't think that's what he's responding about. So it's true. There is a certain molding process that happens, but a lot of women are not mature enough to be molded. They still have the mind of an 8-year-old. I think that's where he's coming from, because I've dated a lot of women that they are so childish in nature that there's nothing to work with.
He said that teaching is different from raising. In what way, really? What do we do with children other than really teach them how to do something? What?
A lot of children are not being taught.
I was raised from being who I was into being a wife. I wasn't taught to be a wife, so I was raised into being one from my husband. No, the standard, you don't want to have to do that, but it's what happened. He chose me, and he said, okay, I'm willing to teach you as long as you're willing to learn.
And I want to add on to that, and no offense to the women on this panel here, but women are children.
I'm offended.
I agree. We are like children. Yes.
Boom.
I mean, look, there's been a study saying that a woman, she stops developing after a certain age, especially if she's had a trauma or something. Especially, I've even heard that pretty women tend to not develop properly because they are given so much attention that they never developed a personality. They never developed comedic. You know what I mean, right? She's not even funny. She's not funny or anything because she never had to learn how to please other people when people were so busy trying to please her. She never developed a character. So this could be part of the reason why, especially if most men like pretty women. So the majority of the time you might get something like that. I don't know. But to say that all women are children's.
We are all God's children.
No. No.
Westside's just trying to start some shit there.
That is not true.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I ain't seen nor met a woman that didn't need guidance from a father type entity out there. So that's why I say women are. And again, women respect leadership, power, dominance, and structure. Therefore, women are children. No offense to nobody, but it is what it is. Until men realize that, hey, step up, be their daddy.
You know what? This comment is, oh my God, it irritates me so bad. It's the comment, but I'm not irritated at the commenter. I'm just saying I've heard this way too many times. She says, how is it possible? Every woman I know is way smarter than a man. Most men have low IQs. This is somewhat true, but not really, because men typically are either super genius or really dumb, typically on the IQ level, while women tend to always stay in the middle of the IQ. Does that make sense? Women tend to have middle IQs as an average. Men tend to be either really, really smart or really, really stupid.
And I would like to add, our education system is directed towards females. Men learn differently than we do. So if our IQs are higher, it's based on how we're being taught. Men are sitting in a classroom twiddling their thumb. They don't want to pay it. I homeschool my boys and girls, and there is a big difference in the way that I teach my daughters and the way that I teach my sons. So I think it has a lot to do with, the education system as well. Men are very smart, in my opinion. They're very wise, like God-given wisdom, so they can lead families.
I don't tend to judge by the education system how smart a person is, because the education system, in my view, is nothing more now than a government indoctrination building. The public school that we are sending our kids to, is nothing but an indoctrination camp. it's not teaching the children to be critical thinkers or smart at all. I believe that your intelligence comes mostly from your genetics and your upbringing with your parents. If they challenged your mindset, challenge you to think and problem solve and so on, I believe that's where you get your intelligence from. And even if a person is like a failure in school, I still think you can be very intelligent. How many men have we seen out there that they can't really even read or write, but you will see them put together a car or an engine or something
Uh-huh.
and make inventions and build stuff? They don't even, don't even know how to write, but they know how to invent.
Men are
Because
the builders of our society. So
they
that's
are the XYZs of knowledge, because they are the end result. They create things, like you said, cars, buildings for us to use. Now we could come in and say, I think you should make it this color and they will make that look better, or but we can give our opinion, and we can help the idea to make it be better. But the foundation, women think ABC and men think XYZ.
I hope a lot of men are listening to this, because it's not really common that we have a panel that's, 3 women, 2 men sitting here speaking about men and how good they are and how smart they are, how they contribute. The majority of panels are like, men are the issue, men are the reason why we can't all be great. Like, this is, but
No,
yeah, no, I don't believe that at all. I do believe that men are smarter than women in a different way, I want to say.
they're omega thinkers.
right. They're always 10 steps ahead while we're still in the now.
So
Mhm.
so this is how men and women go together. Men are constantly focused on building a future that they want. That's why a lot of men are looking at schools and they're like, why do I want to go to college for 7 years? Do I really need, 7 years of a hardship? I don't need that to be happy. They're thinking about the future. Women, however, are always thinking about creating the best present. Okay. So that's how women are always getting into all this massive student loan debt, because they're not thinking 10 years down the road about how useless some of that education is, or how much they may not like it down the road. So, but when you take a man and a woman, you put them together, suddenly they're balancing each other out, where the woman's bringing good present value so a man can enjoy his life in the present. And because a man is planning for that future, they're writing that for the rest of the time. They're building. That's how they are building a life together, because they're so focused on different aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I
So
agree.
with this women and men talk, really quickly, there's a lot of stuff going on in our country today regarding men and women. Just recently, a man was awarded the swimming championship against women
That's
because
right.
he
Boys rule.
transitioned.
Boys rule.
Guys, just as devil's
Take that,
advocate, can I
women's
get you to
sports. We showed you how it's done.
devil's advocate? Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead. It's your show.
Devil
Sorry.
advocate. Going once, going twice. I mean, I've seen him before, but it also could be a
Oh.
glitch. I don't know. I'm not letting you in until you give me a sign of life. I can't do it. I don't know. Give me a wave. Give me something. I see you. I know you can hear me. There you
Just
go.
ignore him. He's
There
wasting
he
your
is.
time. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
he's good. He's good. I think maybe there's a delay.
Shit.
Come on, dude.
Right. It's okay. See, every time he comes on, he never is ready. He always has to set up after.
Sorry.
How are you?
I'm letting the
I'm good.
brotherhood
How have
down,
you guys
man.
been?
Good, thank you. What do you think about this conversation? Do you have anything to add?
I had YouTube open too because I didn't want to miss because StreamYard's a little faster. So when I hop into StreamYard, I miss 30 seconds. So I don't want to come in and start talking about what you guys eat when you guys.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Go on.
A lot of good points were being made in quick succession about the education system, about IQ, and I'm like the analytical type. I actually just finished a little boot camp for data analytics and visualization, and that I always will be delving into things. Like my friends have to get me to shut up when they get me talking about this kind of stuff that you guys are talking about right now. But what was the last, since I missed about the last 45 seconds when I hopped in, what was the last point that was made? Were you guys still on IQ and the education system?
We're
Yes.
talking about how men are better at, sports than women, obviously. But
Well,
anyway,
pretty much everything, honestly.
I need to go because it's almost midnight for me.
Good night, Wesley.
All right,
Some
I'll
of us
hold it
have
down
big
for
boy
you, Wes.
jobs.
Good night.
Not all.
So basically talking about how men are better at essentially everything better than women. What do you think about that?
Jeez, you're gonna Dan. See, now the clip's gonna go viral, and I'm gonna be the bad guy. You guys can say these things. No, I'm just kidding.
You already know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, well, with the IQ thing, like that, I mean, that's scientifically proven. When you look at the bell curves, the hump is always, in the middle, but with the woman's bell curve of IQ, the hump is stacked higher, and then the men's is more flat. So obviously, there's more super geniuses with IQs of over 140, and there's more, guys that don't have the IQ to allow them to join the army. I think you need 80 or something like that. And so for the education system, it was real interesting. I watched this video. So I've been in the manosphere longer than most people have. So before the incels started joining the manosphere, I think that kind of ruined it, actually, because it really was a bunch of more assertive alpha men that realized that they'll never be able to beat the entire system and government alone. And they were just talking about the best ways to change the system to get it to not incentivize regular women to leave them, because there are the bad apples, right? But then there are the normal, regular women. But I've seen situations where the best lawyers, the lawyers that make the most money, they're so good with what they do and with words that they can convince your average woman that is having a spat with her husband that she's being abused. Has he ever raised his voice at you when you felt it wasn't necessary? Were the kids there? Okay, well, that's actually a form of abuse by this definition. And so, actually you can remove him from the home because technically, they're just really good at catching you at your worst time and just exacerbating those problems. And, when you throw in getting the house and 2/3 of his take-home income in child support, depending on the situation, it's just that has caused men to raise their standards for women now. So when it used to just be, would she be a good mother to my kids, then a man's standards would be a lot lower for marriage. But now it's, will a lawyer be able to convince her to turn against me during our worst time in 20 years? There's so now men have to be a little bit more cautious, and marriage isn't as feasible as it used to be.
I just want to add on to your
ahead.
point. You are saying something so true, but I want to address the situation, but I don't know how to do it without YouTube standing over us. But I want to address the ABUSE issue when it comes to the government making all women feel like victims, making all women feel like they're being assaulted and hurt, and that men are just looking for them so that they can just hurt them. I haven't seen so many women so afraid online, on TV, commercials, everything. But in real life, that's not what we see. We see women going into men's faces and daring them to hit them. We see the majority of DVs starting with the woman actually assaulting the man first and the man finishing the job. We see that every little thing that a man does that is not beautiful and roses and I love you, honey, yes, beautiful, that's seen as an abuse. There was one time where they said when the man hits the wall out of frustration or anger, that is domestic DV. That is DV.
Yeah, and I want to add on that.
Yeah,
I want to add on to much respect, Devil's Advocate. First time seeing you on here, and I didn't, add on to that. I'm just saying me. Where I learned this stuff from was the males in my family, Iceberg Slims. You know what I'm saying? Bishop Don Juans and people like that, and Dr. Phil Valentine's and stuff. I never was into this red pill manosphere thing. I just see this stuff explode now and stuff like that. So I don't even really know. That's why I was asking, what is a blue pill? What is a red pill? But I kind of want to get back to what you were saying, Ameera, about that swimming thing, and I'm not going to say too much. Women are promoting that thing. I see women online that are actually for that guy and guy, keyword. I'm not going to say the other word, what they want to call him, but I see a lot of women promoting this perversion and this Sodom and Gomorrah and this satanic demonic stuff. I see a
This is
lot
why
of
I
women.
don't feel bad for them.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right. And again, it's some weirdo men out there, for it too. But again, I see more women support this crap because it eliminates men. That F word or feminism really equals destroying men. That's what feminism is made to do, to destroy and delete all men. That's the mission statement right there. That's it.
It's
You know, oh, go ahead. Sorry, you didn't talk to you.
It's funny you said that. I recently ran across a video. I think it was Poor Man Podcast. He was doing, just showing reels of feminists. And one of the women was like, we need to kill all men. We need to delete all boys, boy babies, and men when you see them on the street.
Yeah,
And she said it proudly. She wasn't flagged. Nobody said anything.
I'm aware that actually I heard that they were talking about this back in the early manosphere days, like 2010 to 2014. They actually got #KillAllMen to trend on Twitter for an extended period of time, and no one did anything.
Now let that have been women.
Yeah, right.
No, the internet would have ended that day. That would have been the end. We would have been standing next to a graveyard like, oh, YouTube, you were such a great person to us.
Yeah.
Yes, you were two-faced, but that's okay. And yes, you stole my money, but I can forgive anything with God's will.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was gonna make a point about the early days of the manosphere, and yeah. So there was a video that I watched back when I feel like every guy that was raised by a single mom, at least at one point in his life, was blue pill in many views, because like you don't have a father figure to like for example, my mom, I love my mom, but we were never like friends like a lot of women are with their moms. Like I never talked to her about my dating life, for example, and I know a lot of girls do. Like I wouldn't talk to her about like what I should do in certain situations unless it was serious, like a job interview or my resume or something like that. But it was never just like, how was your day? Always was pretty good, because I wasn't comfortable talking to her about that stuff. And go ahead.
Did you go to your father?
No, I didn't. I wasn't close to my father growing up. He went to jail when I was 3. He had I think he had 6 kids with 5 women and I was like one of the middle ones. I didn't even know about 2 or 3 of them until my grandma's funeral, till his mom's funeral in North Carolina. So
his loss.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So like it was weird because I found out we did the same sports in high school and college, and like I would be growing up and I'd like laugh or crack a joke, and my mom would be like, your dad did that exact same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about it. Yeah. Like even down to like mannerisms. So it's crazy how like genetic some of those things can be,
I saw a woman recently coming out and speaking against Jordan Peterson as if Jordan Peterson is a misogynist, saying that he's a misogynist. Yeah. Now, Jordan Peterson, if you guys, I'm sure all of you know who he is, but just in case for those who don't, he is a professor from a university in Canada, and they call him like a right-wing red pill master. He's not. He's really milquetoast. He's really middle of the aisle. But she tried to call him, it's on my channel too, she tried to call him a misogynist. Mm-hmm. When many men who have grown up in like your situation, Mr. Devil's Advocate, that they have grown up like this where they only had mom, they saw Jordan Peterson as a somewhat father type who was pretty balanced and who is helping. The red pill is helping. She says that the red pill is harming men, creating incels, creating hatred towards women, and that this is the toxicity that is creating more problems in our society. Now, I made a reaction video to her to basically call her out and to tell her, you're speaking rubbish. Please stop. You are no one to tell a man what is beneficial to him when he's watching content. you don't know what men are going through, that they need to watch certain content. So did the red pill help you in your situation because you grew up with only your mom?
Yeah. So it just started as a feeling of like discomfort and like tension between me and my mom. And I could never put a finger on what it was, but she was like furthest of the far left. And like the way she ruled with an iron fist. So, and I think that's the reason why she said she always wanted to find like a black role model for me. And she only dated black guys, but she liked alpha men. So like, their personalities would just clash. Like, so when her and I would get in an argument when I was like becoming a man, when I was 17, 18, like I'd ask her why she only watches a certain news channel, like genuine question. Cause I've never watched Fox News in my life. I only watched what she watched. And she would just get mad in that conversation. And I'd wake up and my car keys would be gone because I upset her. And so I'd be taking the bus with the freshmen as a high schooler, like that's just how she was. That's just how she was. Like, I realized that the more, she ran the household. And the more I fought it, the more I would just like wake up and shit would be gone. So, I just kind of endured it, and it caused me to be distant with her. I avoided important conversations. When she asked me how my day was or what my opinion was on a matter, I'd be really like middle ground, and I'd have those important conversations with my friends. And I started to get like red pill and or conservative male opinions on things when I majored in economics in college. And through coaching, I think coaching is like the proxy for fatherhood that a lot of these kids have in like these majority single mother communities, because they actually still value sports. Like men will always be competitive. So
Wow.
this ties into, oh yeah, go ahead.
Quite a bit.
Yeah,
that is quite a bit. And I see people in the chat are relating to you. I wanted to do a show on this, but I think it's too hard of a topic for me to handle. I wish somebody would do it though. I wish someone would take care of this topic of mothers, and when you grow up with only the mom, what kind of environment you're growing up in, and the problems or the difficulties, or what are the benefits of growing up that way, if there are any. Because I don't want to be the only one just speaking poorly on single mothers. This is not what I'm trying to do at all. But at the same time, statistically, this is what I've seen, that single mothers do worse than single fathers. So I want to do that, guys, but I don't think I'm the right person to do it. There are certain things I can handle, certain things I can't. Yes, Miss Patty Cakes?
I have a question for Mr. Advocate. How are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good.
So with your experience, that challenge or encourage you to make better decisions and to do better, or to see your situation and say, I don't want to be like this, so I'm going to do something else, or what?
Yeah, I'll make a statement about my situation, but I want to add the caveat that I'm kind of the exception to the rule, because most men raised under women like alpha women like my mom, or type A women like my mom, they end up being very blue pill, because they're trained to believe what their parents believe, and they don't have the strength or the instinct to question authority like I did. But I think I became red pill despite my environment, because being raised with a very far left feminist type woman like my mom, and I mean, not to brag, but like I was kind of type A and alpha myself, like my dad. And so like I was captain of a few sports teams in high school. I wasn't a popular kid. I was in like accelerated math and science. I was kind of a nerd. I was quiet, but I was athletic. And through sports, it taught me a lot of things that were counter to what my mom would teach me, like a lot of like feminist talking points, everyone deserves a trophy type stuff. And so I think that arguing with my mom and disagreeing with my mom and realizing that she didn't have any arguments, but she would use other like more political, dare I say, more like female ways of getting back at me instead of like direct,
passive, very
logic,
passive,
over the table hard conversations. Yeah. Now I don't want to like bash on my mom. Like, she did a lot of things right. She worked her way up. She's really good in her career. She worked her way up at a company she worked for 30 years.
I
She
don't think any of us think that she was a bad person.
Yeah, her
I
type
think
A
these are just
personality served her in the corporate environment. I
right.
mean,
These are just things that happen.
but as far as getting along with type A masculine alpha men, it just wouldn't work long term. Like, she would just bounce off of them like rubber. But I think that arguing with her and having the spine to stand up to her, and then realizing that it just wasn't going to work out on a higher level, that we love she loves me as her son, I love her as my mom. I would help her. I help her when she like gets hurt or she needs help moving something, but like, it's not like that I tell her about my relationships. We'll never have that kind of relationship, or especially not when we live together. Now it's like,
thank you so much, Mr. Advocate. Just really quickly,
yeah.
I want to ask you,
Sorry.
just in closing, because we do have to get going, but I want to ask you this. What are you going to do when you get married? What are you going to do when you are you married?
No, I'm not. Never been married. No kids.
What are you going to do when that moment comes, especially with your mom's situation?
It's going to be weird because I already know my mom's going to be trying to like force the like far left politics and feminism on my like kids. So I'm going to have to like, I wouldn't just dump them on her, no matter how bad I would need like a babysitter. Like, that would be my last resort, because I don't want that kind of stuff being like downloaded into my kid's head. And they're impressionable. But I think a lot of people say women like men like their fathers and men like women like their mothers, but I actually am the opposite for me. Like, I could not live in the house with another dominant masculine woman for the rest of my life.
I think that's what most men are saying, that they don't want that.
Yeah. But there's some men that are just like, yeah, we love your career and you're strong and this and that. But just the like 15 seconds, what I was going to say earlier is there was a video about how women are seen as more intelligent than men, emotional IQ, yada, yada. And this guy surgically broke down, okay, you think women are more smart than men, but at the upper echelons of just about everything, there are men, and especially when there's competition involved. So in school, women can kind of kick guys' ass now, but that's because school is now more memorization and less competition. So like, yeah, I mean, it kind of serves it speaks for itself. But if you think of things like chess grandmastery, he even used like 30 of the most popular video games. And as it went from something super complex, like you're commanding fleets of really nerdy crap, it's like all men, to like, what is that one where there's shapes and it's like Tetris?
God, we just spoke about it. We just spoke about it the other day.
Pretty much
Was it Jenga? No, not Jenga.
The more simple and colorful it gets, Dragon, Farmville, like the more, like it goes from 100% men to like 30% or to like 30% women. It was really interesting.
I want to address this comment. Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Advocate, just really quickly. Cynthia X is here again. It's okay. She says, pick me is not what you defined. A pick me is a woman lying to you, deceiving you in order to get picked. After she's picked, you meet the real her. But if that's what you want, so wait a minute. So if that's the case, then why am I being called a pick me? If this is the real definition of pick me, is to deceive and create this image, and then once I'm married, the real monster comes out. So
I think
why are they
men
calling
and women are different? They have a different definition of pygmy.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe that this is her own made-up definition, because I've never heard a definition like this. Every time I hear pygmy,
that is probably a lot of women's definition of what a pygmy is.
This is a chameleon. He's right. That is a definition of chameleon, not a pygmy.
Their definition. I didn't make up.
Have you heard the phrase "men marry women hoping they won't change, women marry men hoping they will"? So if you hear a lot, you'll hear a lot about a woman leveled up and the guy just wasn't, didn't have the same mindset or wasn't ambitious. I hear that a lot when women kind of outpace or out-earn their husbands, which is happening a lot more nowadays. I think it's pretty funny, because then the flip side of that is like the wife gains weight, and men are very visual. So then like that kind of deteriorates the physical aspect of the relationship.
But this is not true. I don't believe that women are out earning men in mass. I believe that men are making money, but they're not making the money that women want them to make.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
don't want the average
Yep.
earner. They want the above average
Yeah.
earner.
So the divorce rate does spike when a woman out earns a man, but even when she doesn't, if she's had experience with a man that provided her like a financial lifestyle that her now, like her current husband, can't, then that could probably have a negative effect on the relationship.
I see.
And that could be viewed as like a body count thing. You know, it's really hard for women to go backwards in lifestyle. So.
Yeah.
And also, they don't really need to out earn. You know, it spikes when they get a college degree and are in a career, and they get half of the man's stuff. So it doesn't really matter if they out earn him; they're still gonna get more than him.
Yeah. I feel kind of bad. Like the more educated a woman is, isn't it like the less likely she is to get married?
Do not feel bad about that.
Exactly.
Do not feel bad. You do not have any reason to feel bad about that. That is a woman's decision. This is not forced upon her. She can make a decision to go to school or not. If she focuses more on school.
Yeah. I was like thinking about like, yeah, as a guy, it's easy to say that, you know, I want a feminine, submissive woman, but what about when you have like daughters, you know? Like,
yeah, but you want them to be, you know, to have self-respect. At the same time, you don't want them to be an aggravated person in society that's messing up the ecosystem. A lot of women of today are messing up the dating and relationship ecosystem. And as men, that's what I'm saying. I was talking to one of my friends, you know, he had a daughter and he was running through women back in the day. But once I said this on here before, once he had a daughter, all of a sudden women are queens, they're this and the third. I'm like, F you, man.
God humbling him.
F you. You know what I'm saying? You need to act the same way you did back in the day once you had the daughter. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden they get it now. That's what I'm saying. Men, like, the energy you put out there too is what you get. But at the same time, women of today, I'm talking about today, millennial and Gen Z and whatever the hell these abominations are made of today, they need to live a certain lifestyle. So if they want to be married, they will get what the universe gives them. But women, they've lived their life at age 32 already. I mean,
she says that women have to work. Are we living in the real world? Unless a woman is picked from her father's home, even then she might work. Experience builds character.
Yeah, I think there's working to pay the bills, and then there's the type of women that work and then turn around at age 31 and are like, all right, I guess it's time to get married after, you know, just entertaining the best option from age 18.
Women don't have to work. They don't have to work. It's just that this society and this extreme feminism thing has made women have a choice to do that and to compete against men. And again, if you know the backstory, who basically funded Gloria Steinem and all these people like that were these weirdo men that wanted to bring down societies with these weirdo women. I don't want to say too much, but I mean, like, that's what happened.
But
So
Mr. Cooley, Mr. Cooley, think about all the women that it's not like before where the woman could always stay with her parents until she was ready to leave. Now parents are kicking out the children at 16, 17, 18. Like, go out on your own, because a lot of American Western parents, they feel like, okay, my job is done at 18. They don't consider it like Eastern parents do. So to say that the women don't have to work, I have to disagree there. Yes, they do have to, but I don't.
Let me clarify that when I say have to, because you're right. You're right. I didn't explain that well. You're right. What I'm saying is a lot of women talk about they have to work because if they don't, you know, basically parents put this in the head. Well, if you don't work, you ain't gonna find a man. Nobody's gonna take care. You know, this kind of weird negative type of stuff like that. My thing is, I'm not saying women don't have to work or shouldn't, but at the same time, if she gets married and she wants to compete with her husband, make more and all that kind of stuff, that's where the waters get muddy right there. I don't want to compete with my wife unless we're trying to better our household. But at the same time, when bad women get a hold of power, it's the worst thing in the universe. It's the worst thing.
I agree.
It's more about the mindset.
Danny. I'm sorry. Danny, can you hear me? Why does it seem like no one can hear me when they're backstage? I know they can hear
They
the
still
show.
have their YouTube sound on or something.
Yeah, maybe.
What was I going to say?
Can I respond to
go
you,
ahead.
devil's advocate,
Yeah.
about, you know, you having daughters and raising them to be submissive, and how that could be hard or not hard to do. When you truly understand the power and value in a submissive woman, it means that your daughter will be protected. So if you teach her these things, you are setting her up for, for success, to be protected and married.
Yeah, like I would never want her to be masculine in a million years, but I always saw myself like as the because I know, as a man, what happens out in the dating world, and like what happens to women if they don't have their guard up, and if they don't have like men helping them vet their potential suitors. I always saw myself as like the Bad Boys 2 dad, and so like it's really hard to imagine myself giving a daughter to someone, knowing that they're, submissive and, like, what is it? Feminine, beautiful, inspirational, FBI. Like, it's hard for every dad, but of course that does not mean that I want her to be masculine. It's hard for any father to envision themselves handing their daughter off to another guy to lead them.
Well, I guess maybe for some men, but like, for instance, my husband, my daughters, or the oldest daughter we have is 5. And he's already talking about, I can't wait to walk you down the aisle. You're going to be such a great wife. Like he boosts their head up. Like, you're going to be an amazing wife. You're going to be an amazing mother. And he's like, I can't wait to see my grandbabies. Yeah. Some people are excited to see their daughters.
It's like success. It's like a pride. It's a very proud moment. Like for my parents, it was a very proud moment. They're like, my daughter's married, and it's like I've done my job. I've raised a proper woman. She's doing the proper thing. It's prideful. Danny, can I get you to please give me a sign of life before I let you in?
Yeah, I think that's where like promise rings and all that kind of stuff comes into play. And he's like, oh no, I'm listen for a girl. If you have a dad that loves you and has protected you, and you're raising your daughter, to be submissive and wife-like and all that good stuff, and you say, hey, I've seen it. Here's a promise ring. Promise you're gonna, stay a virgin, and you're not gonna, shame me as your father, because anything can happen. She can get pregnant, anything like that. But because she loves and honors her father, she'll do it.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about
that are in the college, that are probably in the library all the time, that are studying.
Yeah.
That has either the ring around their neck on a necklace or on their fingers, and then when they get out, they get married, and the father, inspects and says, hey, you know what? This is a like-minded man, has the talk, and then your peace of mind is good because you have released her. You are walking her down the aisle honestly. You have did your best. You have went through and vetted the man that is going to take her away from you, and you know what I mean. But it does start at home, and it does start with the father and the love and how she sees him.
I do believe that having the father home or present at least does keep the girls virgin. Mm-hmm. That's what I believe. I believe women are afraid to disappoint their father. You don't want to have your father look down on you.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna disagree because I thought you meant promise ring from the boyfriend, and I was thinking of all my like slimy guys I played sports with in high school that gave their girlfriends promise rings, and I was just cringing. Like, you guys are the worst. Like they would. It was always them that cheated. Like that was just to get them to be less suspicious of them or whatever. But I agree now that you clarified.
Alexandra is so right. She says that the Bible says to keep an eye on shameless daughters. They will embarrass herself. She will embarrass herself, you, and the family. Yikes.
That goes back to what we were saying earlier about, men that should they accept all these the litter from these other men out there. We should. Yeah. That goes back to right there. This is how lineages and kingdoms get broken down right there. When men accept crap like that, or women that shouldn't be in their circle, or children that's not, it goes back to that right there. That's how societies fail right there.
Yeah, back in the old, again, like the first few years of the manosphere, I heard a phrase that like stuck with me. It was for civilization to last, you need two things, or you need to control two things: male aggression and female vanity. And I think that our society has gotten really good at controlling male aggression to the point where, men are getting thrown in jail for punching a wall, domestic violence. But female vanity
is out of control. We spoke
they've
about that last
removed-
week.
Yeah, they've removed all shame. They've removed, everything that possibly, like, they've undermined religion. So I was going down a thought process about that, and I'm like, my friend was like, "Do you believe in God?" And I was like, regardless of whether God exists or not, I know that religion was created to control human instincts, male aggression, female vanity, and we've just kind of done away with religion with how science has advanced, and there's no more shame anymore with feminism and everything, sexual liberation. So I think the next couple generations are going to teach us an important lesson about what happens when, we know what happens when male aggression goes unchecked. History's told us that, but we don't really know what happens when female vanity gets to where it's at now with social media and everything. Like, we've never seen it before.
Well, we're experiencing something new, never
Yep.
happened before. But I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I hope this conversation has been beneficial for everyone here. And I hope that you guys have a little bit more insight on certain topics, because this topic was very hard for me to do. So I am happy that we did it. This panel has been great. I really like this panel a lot. And even the chat was talking about how great the panel is that we have here tonight. Thank you all for joining me. And I think I will see you guys next week. Have a great night.
Guys, it was fun.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.